Welcome to At the Heart of It, where we talk about life, celebrate creativity, champion entrepreneurship, and get to the heart of the why behind what we do. I'm really excited today.
Me too.
Because this is pretty much the first time that you and I have done anything since January of 2020 when we played our farewell show. So if anybody listening recognizes the voice already,
Hello.
Annika Cheyne is my guest today. She's my partner in crime in Leaving Thomas.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's literally been that long.
It has been a long time. I mean,
feel
COVID
like
hasn't helped
Leaving
either.
Thomas ended and then the world decided to stop because they're like, we can't continue without Leaving Thomas.
That's very true.
Yes.
I mean, it's been crazy to think that we were able to sneak everything in that we really wanted to
do. Yeah.
And then the world just went, see ya.
I know. It was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Legitimately. I think about that all the
It was like
time.
January 20th or like January 19th or something like that. That was the show.
I know.
And then it was like
And then
2
everyone
months
was like,
later.
we're done.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm excited to dig into a bunch of stuff. I mean, we could talk for hours about so many different things.
Yes.
But I'd love to start with the first guest on the podcast with Ty Hunter.
So fun.
So he's also the youngest of 5. And I cannot tell you how many synergies there are between you and Ty about your energy,
probably loud.
Needing to be liking
center of attention.
Liking to be the front of center.
It's a need for me, for sure.
To be the center of attention. But I'm interested to compare your answers on what was it like growing up as the youngest of 5 kids and having 4 older siblings.
Right.
And how the two of you have ended up being artists and creatives.
Yeah. And both musical families.
Yes.
Too.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. So I'm curious, like what was that like?
Well, and I'm curious with Ty how far apart they are in age. I wonder how many years
I'm pretty sure it's
pretty close.
Pretty close. I don't know if it's as close as you, but I'm assuming it is pretty close.
Yeah, I always make the joke that because I'm the youngest, that's why I'm so loud, because you're used to trying to talk over for other people.
Yeah.
I think it was really good because my parents were really good about, they put us all in music, but then I was the only one that wanted to be a star. Like I always say, everyone else in my family was great to loved to be in the choir, whereas I was the one who was like, I need to have my own show. So it's actually probably similar to Ty in that you have this community around you that they get it. Like I love that my family understands music and can appreciate it. It's not like if I went into hockey or something where they wouldn't know what to do. But nobody else in my family wanted to be the star. So that was really unique. I feel like sometimes, if you're an only child or if you have people around you that also are vying for that, it can be hard. So my parents my mom was extremely supportive. My dad was supportive of me trying things so that I could fail at them, as he would say. Try it, fail at it, it'll be good. And then, I just stopped failing at things that he always thought I would fail at, but that's a whole other podcast, really.
I still love how surprised he was.
He's always surprised about anything.
Some of the Leaving Thomas stuff.
Always. Like, as to quote him also, it's like, I can't conceive of this. It's not even like I'm surprised, but I can see it. He just doesn't even get it. But I also feel like we grew up in a household where there also just was no time to complain about things, to have temper tantrums. Like we were always a unit, but then each kid kind of had their own thing. And so my thing was the acting, singing, dancing thing. But then we all did swimming. We all did violin or like a stringed instrument. We all did piano. So we had a good balance. And I don't know, I would be curious, like obviously I didn't grow up on a farm and they are all boys. So I'm sure that was also crazy.
Yeah.
Whereas my mom being in the city, it was like, I need to get these kids tired every night so I can go to sleep. So it was like 50 different things every week.
Yeah.
Very busy.
Ty's answer was really interesting because for him, like I introduced him as like his bio, obviously he's creative, he's a songwriter, he's an artist. And then I said he's a farmer. He's like, well, I wouldn't say I'm a farmer. I'm like, you sang Kiss About It in the combine and sent me a video. But he's like, it's part of the identity, but it's not who I am. So I think what that was really interesting of some of them played like professional hockey, like a couple of them, I think it was JJ that played in.
What is it with hockey and country music?
I don't know.
How do you all end up here?
I don't know. But, and then another one, I think it was Dusty, was on Canadian Idol. Like he auditioned for Canadian Idol and made it to Toronto. And then, so there was a lot of synergies there. But one thing that he talked about was the personalities between each.
Oh, yeah.
And they went through the Enneagram. I don't know if you've done the Enneagram.
Hello. Yes. I can't remember my number off the top of my head. I think I'm a 9. Neither. I'm one that's very obvious. It's like literally the extrovert or something like that, or the individualist or something. I got really into Enneagram as well. Yeah.
So he and his brothers did that, except for I think Brock was like, I don't want to be pigeonholed into it. Okay. Which that's like a 4, whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say that's like, well, now you've just pigeonholed yourself. Yeah. Someone who doesn't want to do it.
But did you kind of find when you were navigating that growing up, you could kind of see...
Yeah, like it's funny. I'm sure he gets that all the time too, where it's like, you're brothers, you're all the same, you're all farmers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally all singing together, so it's a bit different. But, like we are all extremely different. I mean, if you see our career paths, also very different. We've got accountants, teachers. I think that for me, like people still see us and hear us, our mannerisms or the way that we respond to things or what we look like. And like, oh, you guys are exactly the same. But I feel very different from all my siblings. But at the same time, I will say we all have very similar values. Like you can tell we were all from the same family. So I think it would be interesting imagining if we were in a band together. Like it's interesting with the Hunter brothers, how it's like, your identity is literally tied to your siblings in a career situation, whereas I have that separately. And then I have this really enriching family life where I mean, you know me, I hang out with my family all the time. My sisters are like my best friends. So I'm happy we're not in a band together because I feel like I'd be the one that's like, let's go. And everyone else is like, well, I don't care that much about this. So I'm happy we have our own things, but I can definitely see why people see us or talk to us. They're like, oh, you guys are exactly the same.
Right.
You know, we always get that.
So not that this is an interview about Ty Hunter.
Yes, absolutely.
Ty, you've got to come join us. This is a complete aside and then we'll move on. But I found it so crazy that they, and I don't know if you knew this, but they all chose their own instruments themselves.
Okay.
Like
and they just ended up being like a band.
Just naturally they're a band, which I think is mind-blowing.
Right. That was what ended up happening for us when we were the quintet, which is not nearly as cool as a band. But we had 2 violinists, 2 cellists, and a viola player. And so we would do funerals, weddings, like, I cringe thinking about it. But we did that for a while. And we're a perfect example of... you know, when you put your kid in stuff and they hate it, but you're like, this will be a good lesson for you. But you know, you're not going to become, my dad knew we were not going to become any like professional violinists or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, band is a lot cooler than the old string quintet. But we all got to choose our instruments and we didn't all end up choosing violin. I chose it because it was the smallest and easiest to carry. But we did that together and then we're like, let's all maybe do some of our own things and maybe none of us should touch the violin again.
Yeah.
So we did that. Yeah.
Well, I love the whole family piece. Like they were always at our shows. Sure. They were always there. I mean, my family was too, but it was so great to like always see the blondes.
Oh, for sure.
I would just sit there like, Kate Odegaard's
there we are. There we are.
So obviously you're expecting.
I know.
And was it a week?
Literally less than a week. I'm due July 12th, which is 5 days from now, Bryton. I have to get this thing out of me.
How are you feeling about that?
I forget that we're on mic. I'm like, you know what? It is so weird because, especially because we don't know what we're having. It's one thing when you say the baby's coming, there's going to be a baby, and then you actually say, like, I will have a son or a daughter, which is crazy. Then I also think about how I have to deliver this child, okay? Which is also, you kind of just like block that out for most of the time.
Yeah.
But so you're torn between, I'm so excited to meet this person. Like, it's even crazy to me that inside me now, like think about how big a baby is. Like, I mean, let's say 8 pounds or something. Like, I just don't know how that's going to, anyway, the whole thing is crazy. And I think it will not be real. I think I will spend a lot of time looking at this baby being like, you are my child, and having to tell myself that because it is so crazy. I feel way too young to have a child. I'm 30 years old. It's not that young. Like, I don't know. It is a trip for sure. And I've had a really good pregnancy. I've enjoyed being pregnant. And it's funny because talking to Kim about, I thought I was, into pregnancy, into all that. She is like, I'm like, I should be as committed to this as Kim is, who isn't even pregnant yet. No. So I'm excited to raise a child. Like, that's interesting to me. I think one thing I have to keep reminding myself is that I saw this on Instagram, I think, but it was talking about how with children or with anything in life, everything is a season. And I think that's why I'm trying to enjoy pregnancy instead of like, oh, if only this baby would come. I'm trying to enjoy my last few days of pregnancy. When they're a baby and they need you all the time and they're completely dependent on you, that's only a season and it only lasts for so long. There's only going to be sippy cups and dirty laundry all the time. And then there'll be teenagers, just like keep in mind, it is only a season. So try to enjoy it because I think it can become very overwhelming to think about like me switching from, even think about the switch of going from being a single person to being a husband. Like, okay, life changes. And now it's like I'm going into being a mom, but I really don't want that to be my only identity. And I think you're a better mom if you have other things happening. But I think at the beginning, this child is literally depending on you to live. So like it's going to be an adjustment that I know you can't prepare for. And I get really annoyed with, I love how I said I was going to keep my answer short. And here I am being like, let me tell you 5 other things. I'm not really into the rhetoric around how terrible motherhood is. Like how everyone talks about, you think you're tired now, wait till the baby comes, or you think they need you now, wait till they're a toddler and can crawl. I hate that so much. It's like, and so I get that they're trying to maybe combat some of the Instagrammable moments that everyone posts. And then, okay, it's not always sunshine and roses, but I'm really not into that rhetoric. And so I try to stay away from that. And I think about how it's not just having a baby. You're not a baby, like you're raising this child. And also something I get to do with Spencer and do together. And I also get to see my family, like be aunts and uncles to my child. Like I'm excited about all that. So, you prepare as best you can. I've probably prepared more than I even thought in terms of research and classes and whatever. I'm very excited. I'm nervous. I think it will be an adjustment, but I think it will be like where you get shocked at the beginning and then you find your way. And I always think to myself, if my mom could do this with 5, like I can do this with 1. Spencer's already like literally telling people as soon as this one comes out, he's ready for the next one. I'm like, let's just
pump the brakes. Yeah.
Let's just see how it goes. But my mom was very calm. So I'm thinking I need to channel that energy. Spencer is not calm. I'm not a calm person. We're both very intense people. Very intense. So I don't know where that energy is going to come from, but I'm hoping that I'm depending a lot on the whole natural instinct will kick in. People say that. Like you'll just know how to do stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah. Let me know.
Oh. But yeah. So expanding the family is exciting not only for the 2 of us, but also the Odegaard family. I have another baby. Yeah. It's going to be fun.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I've been really interested by, and we haven't had this conversation yet, is how music being such a big part of your life for all of your life. Like, I mean, we met, I was 9, you were 11, we were in a musical.
Yes.
And then was it 10 years in between that?
Yeah.
And I, from afar, was able to see, it's like, okay, she's in High School Musical and doing all these different things.
Right.
And it was always something that you were doing. Where for me, it was more of an evolution of, okay, hockey was a focus and the music is a focus and business is a focus. So I'm curious how that string for you has priority shifted, obviously starting to become a mother. Like what does that journey look like, or the why behind the music kind of evolved over the last number of years?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I've even said to Spencer, like, I'm scared I'm not going to want to do music. Like, I'm scared I'm going to lose the desire, which is kind of like, if you lose the desire, then that should be a relief versus saying, I want to do this, but I don't have the time. Whereas I'm more worried, like, I will become obsessed with my child and obsessed with motherhood and all this that I'll regret in 30 years or like 20 years when my kid moves out and I think, oh, why didn't I keep that going? So what I feel in my life with music is kind of that, it keeps on creeping back into my life in some way or another. Leaving Thomas completely, I would say, fell into my lap in terms of like, I didn't go out seeking to be part of country music. I didn't go out seeking a duet partner. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't even, like, without leaving Thomas, I would have never even really, I think, gotten into a professional music industry because you were so tapped into that, which is so interesting looking back when it was, you had other things that you were doing too. I was doing the cruise ship thing. And then obviously it's that whole thing of without leaving Thomas, would I have ever met? I mean, I knew Spencer, but like we became obviously way more involved with all these other people.
Right.
I think what I find comfort in is that I happen to be married to a producer. You know, my good friends are part of the Brett Kissel band. Like, I'm surrounded by musicians who have kids and are able to somehow do it. Granted, they're all men, which is like it's a different being a woman for sure. And also, I don't know if you remember a label head talking about an artist and them wanting to get pregnant and being like, she's got to give me 5 years because she's not big enough yet to get pregnant, right? Like, this is probably the worst time for me to get pregnant when you think about it. I'm trying to like relaunch a music career.
Also, I mean, what was media based? You're charting.
I know, which is insane. And that's the thing. It's like, as soon as you as we've learned, sometimes when you don't try as hard for something, things happen. Yeah. And so it is like the normal thing is you're like 21, you're trying to make a career, and then you start having kids when you're like Carrie Underwood level famous. So this was not ideal. But I also learned, because it took us so long to get pregnant, like I had no choice basically. Yeah. So I'm comforted by the fact that I'm around musicians a lot, and being married to a producer makes it 1,000 times easier because also he's in that world. So I feel connected to it in a way that I think it'd be very easy. If I was married to some guy that worked at like a downtown corporate job, it would take so much energy to like keep music in my life. I feel like, and so I don't know what's going to happen. That's part of the reason I've recorded like a full, like 14 songs, because it was like, I want to be able to release that into the world, and whatever happens, great. But obviously I'm able to record songs and not have to pay thousands of dollars per track, which I think is what a stumbling block is for most artists, which is completely normal. Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to things like, let's get on the road for 100 days. No, I'm not going to do that. But I also feel like we're in a world now with music where you don't need to necessarily do that.
Well, especially in country music. Yeah. The fact that, I mean, you have Brett who tours all the time, which is amazing. But then you have so many other artists where
it's like you do a 2-week tour or something.
Yeah. But the festival circuit is such a blessing for the country music industry, because there are so many of them. Yes. Whereas if you're a pop artist, I feel like it's a lot tougher because there's fewer festivals. Like, it's just not part of the industry. But I feel like, you know, in country, they give more time of day to independent artists to do stuff at festivals. They just have more slots. They have more opportunities, or more stages, or and again, the good thing about having a baby this year is because all the festivals are still canceled. Like, it actually worked out well. Yeah. Terrible. You would never want to have a baby in the summer. It's like the worst time, right? Yeah. Here we are. Yeah. So yeah, I have no desire to become some famous star in the US. Like, I have no desire to get some big record label. So in a way, it's good. But was it before?
That's a good question. Do you think it was for us at some point?
I don't know.
I feel like we never got close enough to be like, well, let's actually sit down and consider this.
When we were, I remember it was, I think it was the first time we went to Nashville, and we walked out of Warner, and we walked into, and then we went for dinner. First time in Nashville. Right? Like, and we're like, holy smokes, like, that's what we want to do, and that's where we want to be. And it's like, we were high after that meeting, and then nothing happened. We never got a call back. Nothing happened. But as goes the music industry.
Wasn't interesting? I feel like the more we went to Nashville, the less we saw that as our future.
But this is the other thing, is I think it comes back to the family, the importance of family as a pillar. So, and that was kind of be my next road.
Segue,
was, I know you and I have talked about this over dinner one time, was the kind of the Jordan Peterson conversation where I think it was an interview that he did in New Zealand or something like that. He was talking to a woman who was so focused on her career, and that was the main focus. And not that was the wrong thing to do, but he positioned the other side as going, well, when you're 80, what do you want your life to look like? And it's never something that I ever thought about until that moment. Yeah. And it's like, well, I want to be surrounded by family. Like,
for sure.
I want my kids to have kids and their kids to have kids, and it'd be really cool to be around for their kids. Like,
yes, for sure.
For your great grandkids, right? And, that's not something that you think about at this time in your life.
No.
But it was always something that was core to who we were as people.
Yes.
And I think that was definitely part of that evolution of moving on. Is going, well, family needs to be the core.
Yeah.
And, if it's not going to fit for everybody what that looks like, then, it doesn't make sense. So it's just very interesting how.
Well, I remember that Lady Gaga quote that everyone thought was so great. She said, she was referencing music and why she spent so much time on her career, and she's like, because music won't wake up one morning and tell you it doesn't love you anymore. And my response to that is always, because it can never love you back in the first place. Like, yes, love is a risk, but also think of what you get out of it. And I've thought about this a lot lately when we thought we couldn't have kids. Like, okay, if I can't have kids, what does my life as an 80-year-old look like? Or for friends and family members that I have that aren't married yet. And it's like, what I've realized is, even beyond getting married and having kids and maybe having that typical life, it's about having meaningful relationships with like some people aren't close with their family, but their friends are everything. And you realize what you get from relationships is just so much better than, honestly, even it feels being on stage in front of people. Like, do I think I believe I was born to make music. I believe I have gifts that is how I share my talent with the world. I don't think I was meant to do something else. Like, I feel good about that. But at the same time, I feel I'm meant to be a mother. I feel I'm meant to be a wife. And I feel like country music is one of those few genres that actually embraces that whole thing. But being in Nashville, I was like, oh, unless you're the top of the top already, this is a nightmare. I mean, there's probably people listening to this that are like, it's about to move to Nashville, but for me,
it's your nightmare.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But
and it didn't. I mean, I went down to Nashville for 3 months, probably 4 months after my mom died, and I think that was a massive eye opener. Obviously, we're supposed to go in March. Then I ended up getting married. My mom passed away in June, and going down there, I mean, within 5 days, I was like, okay, this is not my place. And I think some people go to Nashville and it completely is their place, and that's totally fair. That's also where I learned that I don't want to be a songwriter for other people. Like that was a massive thing, because you're kind of taught or this idea of being a singer-songwriter in Nashville, and you're writing 2 times a day. I loved doing that when we would go down for 5 days.
Yeah, for
we'd write
trip.
10 songs, and we're like, we're making this album. And then I love saying that portion is done. Now let's go record. Now let's go promote. Now let's go perform. I like doing all the different things of it. And then I just remember like starting to write for other people, and every time they leave, I just think, well, I want to sing this song. Like this has so much of me in it. Why am I giving it to someone else?
Yeah.
And I realized I wasn't a great writer for other people. Whereas some people, they are able to, I mean, Phil Barton's a great example, right? He can take what your vision is, what your style is. I mean,
and then he writes 300 songs a year.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it was like, you have to love doing that. And I realized very quickly, that wasn't my place, but we stayed there for 3 months to like give it a go. I mean, not a go as in if I don't get a publishing deal before I leave, but I feel like we got a good taste of it. And then we came home and bought a house immediately in Calgary. And I feel very good about that decision. And I also feel good that we went down there, because when I'm 40, I won't be looking back saying, well, I never really gave it a shot. Yeah.
That mindset though, too, of it's so funny. Kimberly and I had this conversation. It's so morbid, but she looked at me and she's like, if I died tomorrow, I think I'd be really happy with the life I've had. And I'm like, that's awesome. This is super morbid and random. Right. Why are you telling me this? But I agree. Being able to go, being able to play hockey at the level that I did, being able to leaving Thomas for me.
Think of all
it's
the
like
interesting experiences you've had in your life due to
oh my goodness,
the industries you were involved in.
Yeah, but I also love that we documented so much of that, like being able to look back at like the LT show.
I know.
And stuff and go, here's when we were in Nashville and like that trip we did this. And you know, here's us at Boots and Hearts, the first time we ever played a massive festival stage and like no one was there.
Yes.
But it was.
And it started raining at the end. I remember that.
Exactly.
Well, that's why I was saying to you, I hate vlogging by myself because it's not fun and it's awkward and weird. But I was like, I want my kid to, like, I wish I had videos of my mom pregnant with me. That would have been so amazing. Or like just seeing my mom at that age or whatever. I love looking back on the LT stuff that I force myself to do it, but it's a lot less fun without someone doing it. But no, it's amazing that we documented so much of it and that we were in that age where that started happening, where people started vlogging.
Totally.
Yeah.
So another piece that I think a lot of people are really interested in that we never really had an opportunity. Like what's great about podcasts is you can get deep instead of going to super wide and checking all the boxes on promotion tours.
Yes. For sure.
The accounting side of your life, I think is just something that everybody is like, oh my goodness.
So confused.
Why are you,
what's happening?
Yeah. Why are you an accountant?
Yeah. You know what? This is actually interesting because, so basically, I got my degree in accounting because my dad was not going to pay for me to study drama, for one thing. And I was very thankful for the fact that he paid for my education. So I didn't have to study accounting, but I had to study something other than the arts. And I got the degree in accounting. I would always joke, I'm getting this degree so that I hopefully never have to use it. It has come in handy more than you know. But I'm not a traditional accountant. However, extremely interested in my own personal finances and finances of a business. And what's good about having an accounting background is you can look at a business and see, is this making money? Like, does this make sense to keep doing this? Is this, and I have learned there are a lot of things that because of my education, they are common sense to me. And I think every artist knows this or every entrepreneur knows this, and they don't. Which is fine. That's why you should always have a good accountant or like someone that you trust. But the majority of what I do now outside of music is I run a mutual fund dealership. And that is something that I never saw for myself. I became a financial advisor probably 5-6 years ago. And then I only took over because my mom passed away. And so that has been an interesting journey because it's been something that I've always kind of, not that I've hid it, but it's like not part of my identity because I would always feel like people would judge me as an artist if they knew I had, quote, like a second job, right? Like, oh, she can't make it. She's not committed. She doesn't have the passion for it.
Both of us did that when we were
that's the thing.
Doing it. So
what I realized was, especially with country music, you need something else in Canada to do. I mean, there's not enough work to just hang out there. Secondly, both you and I are like quite passionate about personal finance in general. Like, I think it's a good thing to know. Again, when I meet with clients, there's a lot of things that you assume people are taught, but then you realize, well, we don't have any, where are they supposed to learn this? So I found it's extremely helpful running my own music stuff. Or like Spencer obviously has his business. I help out on that side of things. But just an understanding of how your money is working and what having it work for you and investing and all that stuff. I am passionate about that. And I've kind of embraced this whole idea of, yes, I'm a singer, but I also run this company. And I remember I kind of changed my mind about it because I thought, okay, mutual funds are so boring, like whatever. And I remember going into a lunch with my mom when she was kind of training me and taking me to these things. And it was like 15 men at this table. And I said to my mom, oh my goodness, Mom, you're the only female advisor here. Like, that's really amazing. And she looked at me and she said, I'm the only owner here as well. So she was the only one in that room that actually owned the business. Everyone else was just working for, other companies. Right. And I remember being like, that's awesome. And my mom raised 5 kids. She was a teacher and then did the mutual fund thing. So she had a complete switch in careers. She worked alongside my dad and just had a great life. And I remember she said to me, she's like, when I was kind of learning the business, she says, Annika, like, I don't think your not your dream, but like, it wasn't her hope for me that that's all I would do. She's like, you're so much more than being a mutual fund salesman. And so what I said to her, I was like, yeah, but you showed me that it doesn't have to be one or the other. So I do really enjoy, I enjoy working with my dad. I enjoy working with the clients. And I also enjoy kind of carrying on her legacy in that way. And I believe variety is the spice of life. I don't know how people do the same thing every day. I could never do mutual funds every day, or I work for my brother as a bookkeeper. Like, I do all these different things. And I think it keeps everything fresh so that when you're in the studio, you're super excited to be there. Yeah. When you're doing a show, you're not doing 100 of them a year. You're doing 15, and it is exciting.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think that having the business background doesn't make me the ideal person to manage if we look at like a label or something, because you know, who wants to work with someone that actually understands money in a certain way? Yeah. So that's caused issues. And that's why I feel, though, we were able to be so successful as independent, is that you had your marketing business background. I had the accounting thing. We could do so much of the things ourselves that normally you're dependent on other people who you don't necessarily trust yet, right? So, yeah, the accounting thing, I still say, like, I hope I never have to become a full on, like, let me do your taxes. But I'm prepared if I have to.
So, did you know? Oh, one of the camera died, which is fine because it's the one that's pointing towards me. Okay. Dave Haywood from Lady Antebellum. Yeah. He was an accountant before he started. Yeah.
Really?
So there's another podcast called Dadville, which I think I told you about. Have you started listening to it yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, but you need to.
I need to. Yeah.
It's super great. But there's an episode where they interview Dave Haywood, and they talk about, like, he was at this company flying all around the world. He was just out of university like was doing audits for this massive accounting company. Yeah. And then Charles Kelly was like, hey, let's write and let's perform and let's do this thing. And then they met Hillary, and then they started, and it just boom. Right. So, I mean.
Well, it is also amazing. I feel, you know, people say, like, the best backup plan is no backup plan. Yeah. I'm always like, I feel like if you have a backup plan, like he did, he probably was like, for sure, I can do this for a year or two because I've either saved money, or I know that worst case scenario, I just go back to my old job. I think it can get tricky if you have nothing else, and then you're like, I have to make this work, and it has to work now. Like, I don't have 5 years to wait.
There's definitely two schools of thought about that. Desperation is a very good motivator.
Yeah, that's true too.
But the other thing, I mean, for me, for Kimberly, like having a bit of a plan, having a bit of a cushion, having some security.
And you think about that too, bringing kids into it. You're like, okay, this, you know, now someone is depending on me and will not be financially contributing for a while to the household income.
There you go. Well, we'll start to wrap up here in a little bit, because I know that we could literally just talk for ages. But I don't know about you, but for me, my favorite part about being interviewed at like radio shows and stuff like that was the rapid fire. Okay. At the very end. So that's
very nervous.
I've got a set of questions that I've been asking everybody. I've changed them slightly here and there over the last few episodes, but
remind me after this, I need to tell you about a rapid fire situation.
Yes.
That was about, I'm thinking rapid fire is like under 20 questions in my mind. Yep. I think they asked me 56.
Wow.
And I will tell you some of them later, because they were like very weird, and I actually got really stressed. So I think I prepared myself well enough.
Like
to
9.
Great. Okay. Not 56, but you're like,
but isn't that like Vogue? Like Vogue does like 72 questions or something, but that's all scripted for sure.
They are completely. Yeah. And all of the people in it are really bad at acting, pretending that they're just coming up with this stuff.
There's Dan Levy, there's Margot Robbie. They're pretty good at acting, but it sounds like so weird out of context.
I saw the one with Selena Gomez where it's like, what's the most important, what's something you couldn't live without? She's pouring lemonade. She's like, my friends and family. And then it goes to the same question to Kim Kardashian, and she's like, my Kylie lip contour kit or something. And it was just amazing that they answered it completely differently. Anyway, yes, no, you're right that they definitely get those in advance, but this is all legit this is coming. We're doing this first time. I don't know any of these questions.
You didn't even know what this podcast was about when you showed up. So
I didn't. And to be fair, I asked, and you were like, "It'll be fine. Don't worry about it."
Exactly. But before we get there, you have new music out.
I do,
and it's really good.
Thank you.
And I'm so proud and excited that you're crushing it. Also with. I really don't want to.
I know it's.
I was like, I don't really want to. I really don't want to.
Right. I really don't want to.
That it's doing so well already.
I know. I actually, we made, well, just the same as Leaving Thomas. I was like, I'm not chasing radio because radio doesn't care, really. And then that future, I didn't even know about this future star thing.
Yeah.
And they let me know about it. And I said, oh, like, that's cool. And then it took a few people being like, no, this is basically, it's the only way independent artists can get in anymore because radio is so difficult. So it's that thing of, I told my dad, this could be the peak. This could be whatever it does. And we're only going down. So you got to celebrate every little thing. And it's definitely I've said this record is just like a more introspective, mature, like I'm just a different person now than I was when my first record that I released was 2014 when I was 23. And then obviously Leaving Thomas, you're representing this brand. And whereas this album has songs about marriage, about losing my mom, about like, there's all these things on it. So I also just love how records are like a time capsule and that I can listen to the Leaving Thomas EP and like know exactly where I was at my life at that point. And so, I'm very much just letting it do what it does and we'll see what happens. But I never expected that and we'll see what happens.
Well, and that's what the second single that you've released.
The first one.
There you go.
It's the first one.
That's awesome.
So I had this big plan to release a new song in July, but now that this is due, so everything gets switched around and I was saying on interviews like, after COVID, let's bring some positive things in the world. I'm bringing a baby into the world, new music into the world. And the thing is, most people, I think, are waiting until COVID was like fully done to release. And maybe that's something that I said, we cannot wait. We released in May because I still didn't know. Maybe COVID's going to be worse a year from now.
So this was my whole thing. It was going, if you're an independent artist, release music every month. Do it. Because nobody was releasing music at all. And I'm like, from a strategic standpoint, you release radars, your Discover Weeklies, all of these curated playlists that are, like
way less competition. I'm sure the fall's going to be crazy because people are going to be.
But that's awesome.
Well, I'm curious to see where it goes, but I certainly I know I'm going to get on stage and be like, I'm missing my other half, or even just going to things. It's like, it definitely is not fun doing it alone. And I am thankful that my introduction to that industry was with you and that we got to do it together because it was so much more fun.
It was way more fun.
Yeah,
so, I mean, hey, maybe it will do something again.
I know, exactly.
So,
well, now that, again, people are not, I haven't seen people booking shows yet. And I'm like, we're Leaving Thomas reunion.
You know what I saw this morning? I saw it was the Mood Booster playlist on Spotify.
Okay.
And it was like Jonas Brothers and then Nick Jonas. I'm like, hey.
See? There you go.
We could do it.
And we still have that song at CBC Radio that's playing that I'm just hoping that goes on for the next 10 years.
Forever.
It is the little song that could.
Exactly. That was the independent song that was like more of a project than it was anything else.
Well, it just shows you one thing I've learned about music, which is this is a different attitude than I think labels usually have, is I really do see it as each song is a line you throw out.
Yeah.
And maybe you get something, maybe you don't. I think we put out more songs in 2 years than it was within the span of, I think 2 years, our EP and our full album was released. Right?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
And we put out a ton of music compared to a lot of other artists that do a single for a year. And that's what my strategy is with this song. I mean, it's a 14-song album. I knew I couldn't drop it all at once.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do 2 songs every 2 months was kind of the original plan.
Well, you look at a guy like Jake Scott. I don't know if you followed him at all, but he's released like a song a week or like a song a month. Like,
isn't that what Sam Hunt did too originally? Before, like he would, or maybe not.
No, he released something on SoundCloud or something.
That's what it was.
But nowadays, I think collaborations and consistent music coming out is like the best way as an independent artist to like start to build that career. But anyways.
So, and that's the thing is we never thought Kiss About It would be something that, and the thing is you also realize everyone thinks, I think, if you ask a consumer what makes a successful song, I'm sure they're not going to say, CBC and writing royalties for, like whatever. They see it as being a number one, let's say on terrestrial radio. And I think you also realize, Kiss About It is still doing wonderful things at CBC radio. It didn't do anything on Spotify or terrestrial radio or like, you know what I mean? You also realize certain things do, and even I really don't want to. Yes, it's doing well at terrestrial radio now, but my Spotify, it's never been added to a Spotify playlist. So there's like very few streams on it compared to some pop artists that get, 1 million streams in the first month.
Pardon Me is another song that it's like that.
So my whole thing is just keep putting it out because you never know what's going to stick.
Yeah. Or the context that it could be played in is somebody wants it in a movie or a TV show, like Best Adventure for
sure
Hallmark movie and stuff. So
whereas I think people get so focused on this is the song, this is going to be the hit, and we need to put everything into this one. Which I don't really think that works.
As a financial person, diversification is a pretty beautiful thing.
That's right. You got to diversify. Get that portfolio going.
Absolutely. There you go.
Yes.
So we're going to jump into rapid fire here.
Okay.
They start off pretty quick, and then we get a little deeper as we go. So the first one is one book that you feel everyone should read.
Bringing Home Baby, the one that your wife gave me.
I just love it.
Actually love it.
We don't have a kid. We're not pregnant. And just like
she's giving out books on pregnancy. I love it.
So fascinated by it.
It is very good though. Oh, that's a great question though. One book that I think everyone should read. Oh man, Bryton, I get so nervous now. Because I read a lot of fiction. I don't read a lot of. Well, I'll just say one that I think is good is called The Millionaire Next Door.
Yep.
Which is just basically about how the people that end up being wealthy and having long-lasting wealth basically don't spend it, and you never know who they are. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big believer in always living small, even if you are making money.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What is your favorite song, either of all time or right now?
Okay, well, my favorite song of all time is probably Stevie Wonder, Signed, Sealed, Delivered, just because it makes me happy. But it's not like the best written
song.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And then I honestly probably feel like a Ben Rector song is probably my favorite go-to. Brand New or like basically anything off that. Where were we?
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was going to say when we were on the plane and you gave me the Ben Rector. It was a different album.
No, we were on Pearl Mist.
The Pearl Mist.
It was the first.
Oh my gosh!
First time we ever traveled and played anything together. I think we were still Bryton and Annika at that point.
Yes. No, we were Prairie Hearts.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
So bad.
Yes.
Cringe.
So bad it was good. Look at where it brought us.
Then you started crying in our room.
I'm trying to think what the song. That's what it was. I'm trying to think what the song was because it wasn't brand new.
The beat. When the beat comes.
When the beat. Yeah. So I think Ben Rector's probably my new favorite artist, thanks to you.
You're welcome.
And I do love the band Camino. I have to say, and you showed me them too.
See-through, I did. I should do A&R.
You should. Because, even Aaron texted me yesterday saying, band Camino is doing a show at the Ryman in September with not Joan opening up for them, but another band that is great. And all I wrote back to him was, guess who isn't traveling in September? Like me and Baby Cheen. So thank you for letting me know. But yeah, you've shown me some great artists. It's same with Gavin James. You've introduced me to a lot of great artists. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Salty snack or sweets?
Usually always sweet.
And what's your favorite go-to sweet?
Wine gums. Which aren't like sweet and also are for like old people, but I love them. Like they're in my hospital bag now.
Nice.
They're like packed nutritious snack and like wine gums. Yeah, I know it's a very generic, but I'm most excited for those because I can't do the sour ones for more than, like I like 5-cent candies basically.
Yep.
Those are like my favorite.
Yep. Love it. Lazy beach vacation or crazy travel adventure?
I was going to say, I used to say like crazy travel adventure, but now I feel like I'm ready for a beach at any time.
Yeah.
Like
we're going to
you guys,
Hawaii in
come
October.
on.
And it's like, but we're always like let's go to Europe.
You guys
and
are
plan
very
everything.
like go when
so
you travel.
Kimberly still want to go. But I'm like, we at least need to hang out on the beach for a day or two.
Like I remember our honeymoon, we did Napa Valley, and I just remember it was a very honeymoon vibe. And then you guys for your honeymoon, you were like tour with Air Canada. You were in, and then you also went to like Poland. Like you did so many.
So that was the engagement.
Was the engagement trip. Sorry, I can't keep track.
We simmered down for the honeymoon a little bit.
Yes, but you still had like a full on organized tour.
Yeah,
which has its benefits.
That one was great because we didn't have to plan it because we were planning the wedding, renovating the house, the whole thing. But yeah.
I think. Spencer and I want to do Machu Picchu. We want to do like other big adventure-y stuff. But right about now, I'm ready for a full-on beach vacation.
I'm with you. Do you have a go-to destination that you want to go to?
Well, I love one in Vegas. Like I love. I also prefer pools to beaches. I realize that about myself because, like having a lounger to sit in, there's no sand. You got drinks usually coming. Like I do love Vegas, and I had a trip to Vegas planned in April of 2020. Obviously, it didn't happen.
Classic.
But I would love to go back to Hawaii. I mean, I love to cruise. And again, I'm an 80-year-old woman, but I love to cruise. And I looked up, the baby has to be 6 months old before we can cruise. So we are legitimately looking at South America, Antarctica cruise January.
Sweet.
Yeah, which would be amazing.
Favorite TV show or movie?
The Office.
Classic.
Just so good.
It is so
That
good.
is the one thing that when they show up clips on, like when clips of it show up on Instagram, I always watch them and I'm always like, this is the funniest show. Anyone that thinks it's not, I actually don't understand it.
Yep.
Like Steve Carell is probably one of my favorite actors. Michael Scott as a character, I believe is the greatest character in all of TV history.
That's good.
So that's also, I told you I'm getting the iPad for labor. I'm just uploading tons of episodes of The Office.
There you go.
It never gets old.
Have you seen Trying?
Yes, I love Trying.
It's so good.
I haven't watched season 2 yet though. I'm waiting.
This is a total aside, but what I love about that show is that it's the couple as the protagonist.
Yes.
Like it's not them. There's
fighting
no
with each
friction
other,
between them.
and
It's like them going through the journey together,
She is
which is
so
I think
cute,
is so great.
and he is so funny. And in that first episode where she like throws the guy's phone in the lake and is like, "Pay attention to your children." He's like, "Those are my kids." We watched that actually when we were trying and we couldn't get pregnant, and we were like, "Okay, yeah." I'm excited to watch the second season.
Okay, favorite local small business in Calgary.
Oh, I really love Empire. Which is, have I ever gone with you there? I
don't think so.
It's like an Italian deli cafe I can walk to from my house. And I've always wanted a place to walk to from my house that's not Starbucks or some other place. And
that's down Elbow.
Yeah, it's like right by Paws Pet Food, which is another local business.
Yeah.
I really like I would say local food spots. I do more of that than I'm pretty bad with like shopping. I'm definitely not like a boutique small, or I get a lot of stuff on Amazon. Like, we're all horrible people. I know, but I usually love local coffee shops because that reminds me of like Vancouver and Nashville. Like that's a very cool thing that I like.
Absolutely. One quote that you live by.
I would say Mark Twain's quote was, "To travel is to learn." And I always, I'm a big traveler.
How many countries is it now?
82, I think. I got it. I get mixed up with the Caribbean islands. Which ones are, I did the thing once. I'm at, I think 82 or 84.
Which
I don't
is
know.
insane.
Yeah. So I've certainly missed traveling. That was a big thing about being pregnant. I was like, am I never going to travel again? Like I went through this whole period of like, I need to make that part of my life. So part of my way of dealing with that is following Instagrammers that have kids and they travel all around because I don't want to lose that. And I think for me as a person, I've done the most learning and educating in terms of different cultures, different foods, different traditions, like all of that, and learning about yourself through travel. So I'm a big believer in travel, and I love Mark Twain. I love his books, and I actually went to the Mark Twain Museum on a bike trip, and that was the big museum quote: "To travel is to learn."
There you go.
I love that one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So the last two, the first one is, who is someone that you would like to thank for helping you get you to where you are today, and why?
Okay, well, I'm not going to cry, but I probably am, because I'm 39 and a half weeks pregnant. It's so cliche, but my parents legitimately, I mean, I feel like you'd probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
We have such a great sets of parents.
Just one whole set.
Just one whole set. The four of them are great. I mean, my mom and dad had that balance of my mom being my biggest supporter, cheerleader. Anything I did was amazing. My dad had that realistic, you're going to fail, you're not going to, and that's okay. Like, it wasn't, you're going to fail because you're terrible. It was a perfect balance. And I think after my mom died, my dad is kind of learning how to be both. That sometimes I'll have to say to him, like, you need to be a mom right now, and you just need to encourage me. They supported me in terms of like helping me get an education. They supported me in terms of my, like just relationships. Like, I love my dad's relationship with Spencer. Just, they support me in all facets of my life. And your parents are the same way. It's not just like, they help me have a great career. And I think my dad in particularly, I think I told you I kind of did a podcast with him where I'm trying to turn it into a book, but I just think he's a very wise person with a lot of interesting perspective on things. And, I think their biggest accomplishment as a couple was raising this family where we all love and care for each other, which again, very similar to you and your siblings, which I think is not as easy or as common as people think to have those relationships.
I mean, we take that for granted probably every day. Right.
And so and now obviously as I'm becoming a mom, you start appreciating those things that you don't even think about until you have a child of your own. So definitely my parents. Yeah.
I knew that was coming, but it's so good. The last one is, if there was a piece of advice that you could share with your younger self, what would that be?
Don't get bangs. Just, I kept being committed to them, then changed my mind. Like, they always come back, and they will come back again. You know they will. I would say...
Don't get bangs.
I would say to... kind of the advice that I'm telling myself now, which is enjoy every season. When I was single, you know, I wanted to find someone.
Yeah.
When I had someone, it was like, this is the wrong one. Or when I was on cruise ships, I wanted to be home. When I was at home, I wanted to be out traveling. So like, recognize that everything is finite and that it does not last forever, which is like, I know, so cliche, but even if you live till you're 100, these seasons will go by. Appreciate them while you're in them. And spend less time taking pictures of them and more time enjoying it. And like, when I think of my memories, it's the smells and the sounds. It's not the pictures that make me remember it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even I wore some for my sister's wedding last weekend. I wore some of my mom's perfume, and I was like, smell is amazing. Like,
oh yeah,
it was crazy. I said, you know, I feel so much closer to my mom even using that perfume every day than having a picture of her. And so it made me think about my own, you know, I feel we've both been off social media a lot more.
I have not posted since our anniversary. So it was September 20th. So obviously with podcast,
and I went
launching
like
stuff,
I went basically a year until, I mean, trying to release music without posting on Instagram is like impossible.
Yeah.
But I have a very, on my social media, it's basically, I have the pillars that it's like, I'll post about Spencer, I'll post about my dad basically, and music, because I don't want to be tempted when I'm traveling to take it's been a great journey that way, and I actually loved being off of it entirely, but it is kind of necessary. But I think you use it as a tool, but that for a while it took over my joy a bit. Yeah, so I'm happy to not be on it in the same capacity.
There you go.
So and also it's interesting having a baby, right? Because I'm like, I don't want the world looking at my baby, but then I want like my Auntie Karen to be able to see it. So it's going to be interesting figuring out that balance as well. And I also think it's weird when people refuse to show their child, but I also think it's weird when the whole Instagram page is now about this like new baby and what they're doing. And usually they're just doing like baby stuff. Yeah. Like, unless your kid is like climbing Mount Everest, I don't need to hear that they're like eating solid foods for the first time. That's going to sound really insensitive, but I think it's good that I've seen other people have babies and think, as tempted as I am going to be to share everything about my child, realize that the people closest to me will care about that.
It's all about audience.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. It's different when you're a musician too, and you have like people that are literally following you that you've never met, and they're following you for your music. I don't think they need to see pictures of my baby all the time.
Yeah.
That was a tangent, but
that's okay.
That's my advice for myself. Don't post too many pictures of your baby.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's rapid fire. You did very well.
That was very good.
Yeah.
I don't want to make editing for yourself, but like literally some of the questions I got. Tell me how you would answer these. If I came to you with a dead body, would you have a place to bury it?
Yeah, what kind of questions?
Right? I was like, and like, where would it be? Or if you had to put someone else on Mount Rushmore, who would it be?
Oh, was it an American interview?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
still, I was like,
as a Canadian, I would have no idea.
No, but I think I said Stevie Wonder. Like, I just was like, because he is a huge part of American culture. And then, or what is the best invention since sliced bread? You know, I literally said an airplane because I love to travel. Like,
right.
But they were, and literally, it just kept, that I started to get like nervous because I'm like, what is the next thing they're going to ask me? So it was a lot. And it was, the thing about rapid is you're like, it should be done in a few minutes. But it was like the majority of the interview. They were very lovely and very wonderful. But I was like, okay, I am prepared for anything now.
Yeah, there you go.
Because
But
so hopefully I did okay.
Now you probably have an answer to where you would hide a dead body, though.
Yeah, I think I literally said, well, my husband hasn't cleaned the mound of dirt in our backyard, so I guess they would be there. But yeah, it was just so funny. Your questions are very good.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yeah, I like those a lot.
Well, if anybody wants to find your music, find you online, find anything about Annika.
I know.
Where would they
Normally
go?
I leave you to do this for leaving Thomas. Like I didn't have to do any of this. Okay, I'm not on Twitter because I can't.
No.
Can't even go near that. And I'm so thankful I've never been on Twitter. Instagram, it's Annika Leave Music. That's Annika and then Liv Music. Facebook is Annika Music. I'm looking at you like, what is it again? That's it.
There you go.
And YouTube, just search Annika Music. I don't know.
Nice.
I don't have enough subscribers yet to have like a proper youtube.com/Annika.
Right.
So it's like CXY, but just, Google Annika and you'll find me. Or AnnikaMusicOfficial.com.
Okay.
Is the website.
There you
That's
go.
where you can just get everything.
There you go.
Do people still go to websites?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Complete side note.
Yeah, love these.
We were walking down Fish Creek the other day.
Yeah.
And there was a little girl that was approaching us on her bike, and her dad was behind her. And he went, Annika, move over. And it was just like,
oh my
what?
goodness. That's me. It's so weird.
So funny.
Have you ever met another Bryton?
So I had, in elementary school, somebody in my class, their younger brother was named Bryton.
Okay.
But what was super weird was George Strombolopoulos is George, right?
It's
That's
George, yep.
So his TikTok page or something he was talking to a class.
Okay.
And he was like Bryton. And I was like, what?
Oh.
So he was talking to a Bryton in that class, and it was super weird to hear my name. But
that's
I have
crazy.
yet to meet another Bryton.
I think it's weird when you hear if I had heard someone calling someone Annika. I mean, that's weird to me. Whereas you think about people that are named Jennifer or something, that's like you're used to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The number of
gyms that I've.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been interesting with baby names because it's that whole you want it to be unique but pronounceable, and you don't want it to be boring, but you also don't want it to be just like a made up thing.
Yeah.
So we have a boy name and we have a girl name, and they're both pronounceable. That's very important to Spencer. So a lot of the Scandinavian names got
axed. Yeah.
Got axed. But I always liked having a unique name growing up, and that it wasn't like you're Annika O and we've got 5 other ones.
Yeah.
But you're also the only Bryton I know with it spelt that way too. Mm-hmm. Normally I've seen it Brighton.
Yeah.
And yeah, Bryton's a great name.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
Annika's a great name.
Because it's hard too, because you get Bryton, Brandon. Yeah, there's a Brendan. Gosh, or like when I see Brendan and Brennan in the studio, I would call them both Bren.
You just be
to see who answers.
You just be like Dan and Nen.
I know. It's weird.
There you go.
But yeah.
Awesome.
Names are great.
Well, now that we've digressed, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I missed you, and I'm so glad we got to chat again.
We'll do it again.
Let's do it again. I would love that.
Awesome.
Yay.
Good luck with the baby, by the way.
Thank you. I'll be calling you from labor being like,
do it.
Can you sing me a soothing song to like get me through this? Oh my gosh.
I'll do what I can.
Oh. Maybe I should tell Kim about the labor process, and then she might be a little more. But she's so funny because she's like so into it, and then also like, but I'm terrified and not ready.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're more ready than people that are about to go into labor.
Yeah.
But she seems to have that like, I don't know. And I'm like, I think that's the way. I mean, I'm literally 39 weeks pregnant. I'm still like, can't take it back now. Like, obviously I'm excited, but not 100% sure about this.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to crush it.
Thank you.